I don't think they saw you.
Oh, plus they can't hear it.
No, this is going. This is working.
Okay.
Do the thing again. All right. Well, it's been 5 years. So here's the deal. If you're just now seeing this again and you don't know who I am, my name is Rudy Davis. I owned and administered a YouTube channel 5 years ago called LoneStar1776, and for some reason they gave me my channel back within about a week ago, and I've been uploading Jeffrey Winehouse videos. And in the past 5 years, it's been very interesting. Hopefully a little bit wiser and a lot older, still kicking, still breathing. I want to do a year of Jubilee update. I also, not only this channel, YouTube, LoneStar1776, which has over 12,000 videos, I believe. So we put out a lot of videos with different prisoners, lots of different topics. I think they shut me down for medical misinformation, hate speech, copyright. I was betrayed by Judas. You can read about that on Rudy's testimony. I have a website called, it's various names, but it's all the same website, right? I hate the FBI.com. Abolishthefbi.com is now mine again. Yearofjubilee.com, Jubilee spelled with one E, just like it's spelled in the King James Bible. And I think rudydavis.com. All four of those websites will take you to IHateTheFBI.com. And we got stories of various prisoners, and I want to talk about some of those tonight, but I want to just reintroduce myself because having my channel back is something I never thought would happen, and I don't know how long it will stay up. I mean, they could see this video and take it down. And again, I don't know if the rules have changed. I don't like guarding what I say. I come from a time period where, two things. I mean, men said what they thought, and I don't like saying, like keeping things back. And I have very strong opinions about biblical things. I have very strong opinions about the vaccine and this horrific situation that America's just been through with that, COVID, and then also, hate speech. Everybody's so offended. It's just insane. Everybody thinks they're a victim, entitled. And then it's just, we live in an insane world. Insane world. I mean, when I grew up, a man's liberty was just as valuable as his life. And, liberty was a very, very important thing. And it still is in my world, But in any event, so I don't know how long this YouTube channel will be up, right? The 12,000 videos seem to be back up. You can go peruse some of them. And I don't know if I'll say something that will, I don't know. It's like you've kept a wild animal in a cage for 5 years. You've opened up the cage, and it's like I'm tempted to attack the person who opened the cage, but maybe the person who put the wild animal in the cage isn't the same person as the person opening it. Maybe, I don't know. It's like, I don't like YouTube. I know that YouTube is of the devil. I know there's other social media sites out there. I'm very well aware of that. I've, scoured all the different types. It's just never been the same as when we got kicked off YouTube, right? But anyway, my wife Erin and I are still together. She's the love of my life. And it's just been a crazy 5 years, right, since we've been kicked off YouTube. And now that we've got the channel back, which is kind of weird, we'll just see how this goes. Like I said, there's so many videos on so many different topics, there's so many, right? Erin and I make jokes about it, but we had the death threat hotline, because when you're making public videos, people give you death threats, and there's so many. We had a good laugh about it. You got to have a sense of humor about this stuff, right? But and then there was also like the 10 most censored books. I think they gave me a hate speech strike for that, because if you go to Google or any search engine and type in the 10 most censored books, you're not really going to get the 10 most censored books, because the censored books are really, really censored. Things like the Anarchist Cookbook, Turner Diaries, which is a very racially divisive book, but it also predicts certain things that have happened in America. And then you have Martin Luther's The Jews and Their Lies, which I don't even think is for sale anymore on Amazon. And the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, stuff like that, right? I did this video, right, and then they didn't like me talking about these books, and I think they gave me a strike on that. But anyway, I could ramble on here, but I don't know. It's kind of weird to be in front of the camera again. I don't even have a tripod. This thing, I'm sitting in my wife's sewing room, as you can probably see. I set the camera on a counter, and I don't even have a tripod. So I got to go get a tripod if I'm going to start doing this again. And if I start talking about certain things, I'm wondering, like, maybe you guys can help me out. Like, if you see this video, like, help me, like, clues on. First of all, I think when you suppress what a human being, you suppress like their free speech, and you try to control how they express themselves, it's a crime against humanity. So I hate holding a microphone and like thinking if I say something about COVID, or if I say something that might be offensive to someone and their sexual orientation, that it's considered hate speech and YouTube's going to take me off again. So this might be a short-lived, resurrection of LoneStar1776. I don't know. I think there's another guy that took the name LoneStar1776. So now there's 2 channels. I don't know. But anyway, like, maybe you guys can help me on, like, it's like, I hate to say I want to avoid talking about certain things because I'm so used to talking about anything I want to talk about. But, well, I'll have to figure this out, right? I'll have to figure it out. Anyway, let's, all right, if you go to IHateTheFBI.com, AbolishTheFBI.com, or YearOfJubilee.com, or RudyDavis.com, you're going to see pictures of prisoners. And I'm not going to talk about the ones that are free, and thank God many of them are free now. Either they're free or they're dead, unfortunately. Amy Gonzalez, they've banned me from communicating with Amy. They said that I am a threat to the good working order of the prison institution. I facilitate criminal behavior, and I cause chaos or disorder, something like that. But my wife can still speak to Amy. So she calls typically every Friday, and they chat. And my wife tries to put together gift packages for Amy. And not Amy specifically, but her daughter, right? Because her daughter, she has a wonderful daughter. She has a husband. I believe Amy wholeheartedly is innocent. And the brother of Mark Wahlberg, you guys remember him? He's like an actor, famous actor, right? He made a video that just badmouthed the heck out of Amy and her family. And I thought Mark Wahlberg's brother was a horrific jerk for doing that. Because Amy, the worst thing that they said about her was she tried to file for custody for her nieces that she loved. So anyway, you can read the story of Amy. You can read some of Amy's letters. I believe she's innocent. I believe our judicial system and criminal justice system and court systems are completely broken. There is no justice in America. And if you want justice, you have to you just have to be very smart, and you have to protect your family in a way, realizing how bad our society is. But anyway, I suggest you write a letter to Amy, let them study her case. And then once you decide that she's innocent, like I did, you can write her a letter. Let her know that you love her and care about her, and then maybe they'll ban you too. Like I said, they haven't banned my wife. Anthony Troy Williams, I consider him like somebody who stood up for people's mortgages, and he also stood up against lawyers and sheriffs and bankers, and he was helping people with their houses. And there was a Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac scandal, and it's a horrific thing what they did as far as they raped and pillaged the mortgages. They tried to turn them into mutual funds and like a hedge fund or something, and they made them you can watch documentaries on it, but Anthony got caught up in all that. And one of the things I remember about his trial, and he had a horrific judge as well, they thought they were going to find all these people in his client list to come testify against him, but they couldn't find even one person to testify against him. The one person that they thought would testify against him ended up testifying in support of him. But the judge was so evil. It was a kangaroo court, and he's in prison, and he's a black guy, but he's constantly in solitary confinement, and he's under pressure from the Muslims who put a lot of pressure on him to renounce Jesus Christ and to renounce his Christianity. He's got a good friend in Hawaii, and thank God he does have that friend that has not ever abandoned him. Jeffrey Winehouse, I would say for the past 3+ years, maybe 4 years, has called us every morning at 7 a.m. And just from a purely selfish reason, just a completely greedy and selfish reason, I really, really, really want Jeffrey to get out of prison, not only because I thoroughly and wholeheartedly believe he's innocent, and I do believe that they tried to kill him, and they put him in jail because they couldn't kill him. 2 bullets bounced off his skull, 40 caliber hollow point bullets at point blank range. 2 bullets went through his chest. He was putting out a bulletin exposing corruption in his local law enforcement. But I want him out of prison just so that I don't have to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and receive his phone call. But I do love talking to him. He's always like considerate, and he's always like praying for my wife and I. One of the most righteous. I mean, here's what I believe. I believe when we get to heaven and we're standing in the salad bar and like we're all in a long line, and like Job from the Bible, Job from the Bible, he's like standing at the salad bar, like ready to get his plate filled with a good bowl of salad, right? And then Jeffrey walks up. You know what I think Job's going to do? I think Job's going to like step back and say, "Hey, Jeffrey, why don't you get in front of me?" Because he spent a long time in prison for something he didn't do, and he suffered a great deal, especially when they tried to put bullets in all throughout his head and his body, and he survived that. He's been stabbed several times in prison. They put him in the hole because I read a letter on YouTube that said reasons why I am innocent. Can you imagine? Like, let's imagine you're thrown in prison. You write a letter from prison, and the title of the letter is Reasons Why I Am Innocent. Your friend reads the letter into YouTube, and then because your friend reads the letter into YouTube, they throw you in the hole for like several months. And it made me feel bad, but they'll ultimately be the one that stand before God on that. A lot of these people that I'm going through the website right on this other phone to remind me of these prisoners, but a lot of these men are dead. They've died in prison, and it's horrific. They got horrific stories, and I just lost the light. Hold on just 1 second. I can't believe it. Why do we lose the light? Can you flip that switch back and forth thing? Isn't that weird?
Doesn't make any sense.
Oh, here we go.
You think it's on a timer?
Maybe it's on a timer. I don't know. All right. I gotta get set up again. Anyway, anything you want to add for welcome back to YouTube? My wife's standing right behind the camera, so you can't get in front of the camera. She's in her nightgown. She's not really.
Some things never
change.
Hold on. Some things never change.
She has a big old smile when she says that. I don't even know what that means. Like, I've been married to her for 15 years. I'm still trying to figure her out. Okay, Ed Brown. He's dying, by the way. He's very bad health, going blind. Thank God there's a few people that are still communicating with him. He's another guy that they banned me from communicating with. But we love Ed Brown. We believe he's innocent. We don't think he should be in prison. I haven't communicated with Ronald Turner Sr. in a long time, but he got caught up in a custody dispute. He's a pastor as well, so a lot of these, we've kind of pulled back from the prison ministry just simply because it consumed us for a while. And just this morning, right, just as an example, I don't ever get to sleep late, right? But this morning I was sleeping a little bit late, and I get woken up by a phone call from a child molester in prison. And somehow he had got my phone number for a Christian prison ministry. And I looked up his name, and I won't say it on this video, but I looked it up, and he had got convicted for child molestation. I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is, but somehow my number had got passed around in the prison. And I would have preferred just to have gone to just to have slept. Right? It's rare that I ever get to sleep in. But anyway, because it became so overwhelming, we've just focused on like the few prisoners that we have left. And I can't take on any new prisoners. I can't like be like I was. Plus, I'm getting old, right? I'm an old man. You know. What did my wife mean by some things never change? I'll have to ask her about that later. Maybe you guys know. Okay, Charles Dyer has been in prison. He's still in prison. His wife is a funny story about Charles. I did visit him one time in prison. I said, you know, I'm on the radio show talking about your case, and I want to make sure I'm not upsetting you. But I call your wife like a horrendous, lying, you know, evil person that has lied about you and set you up on charges that are not true, and some of the most heinous charges that you can imagine. And I just don't want to make sure that I'm saying anything that you disagree with. And he said, you forgot when you talk about my wife to mention the word succubus whore. You know, so his wife set him up and sent him to prison for 30 years, lied about him, took him 3 times to convict him. I believe he's innocent. I believe he was targeted because he was a co-founder of Oath Keepers, and he was very popular. Hey, Aaron, what was Charles Dyer's YouTube name? Yeah, that's right. See, I'm getting old. I'm losing my memory. Charles Dyer's YouTube name was July 4 Patriot, not 4TH, but just 4. Anyway, he was making great videos, really encouraging and really charismatic, and they threw him in prison. He's going to be there for 30 years. Still there right now. You guys remember a guy named Badfinger? His real name was Richard Smith. My wife talked to him often. It's very possible he's dead. My wife found an obituary, and it appeared to be him in Clingman, Arizona, but it had the year 2022, and we called the funeral home, but they didn't have any answers for us. But I don't think he died in 2022. I think he died in August of 2025. So prayers for Badfinger's family. I'm positive that Badfinger Richard Smith was saved, so I think we'll see him in heaven. Yori Von Call is dying of terminal cancer. They should let him out on compassionate release, but they won't because his father is Gordon Call. If you don't remember much of anything else I say, they said they found the movie Death and Taxes in the vehicle of the Oklahoma City bomber. What's his name? Timothy McVeigh, right? Timothy McVeigh. So go find on YouTube the documentary called Death and Taxes, the story of Gordon Call. Now, the producer of that video and I got in a huge argument, and I won't be sending him any Christmas gifts this Christmas. But in any event, I do think the documentary is worth your time. It'll tell you the case about Gordon Call and these 2 men, Yori Von Call, who's dying, terminal cancer. They should let him out on compassionate release, but I pray that they do. But they're very they hate anybody that's part of the family of Gordon Call. Scott Fall has also been, now Yori Von Call has been in prison, I'm going to say a number that's going to be hard to fathom, 42 plus years, coming up on 43 years. The same applies to this man, Scott Fall. He's been in prison nearly 43 years, and his crime was he decided to ride home with Gordon Call that day. There's no evidence that he shot anybody, and he should not be in prison that long. Scott Fall's my kind of man, though. He's the kind of man who doesn't compromise, and he's the kind of man, when they give him a parole hearing, he basically gives them the middle finger and says, I ain't going to my parole hearing because they're all a bunch of low-life scumbags. He may say a few different words than that, but I'm on YouTube with the Family Channel, right? Patrick Hoffman, there's books been written about him, and he was a young man who got caught up in a shootout with his dad and the cops, and there's no evidence that he shot anybody either. And he's an American Indian native guy. And last time I talked to him, he's got cancer in his throat, and he can't talk very well, but he was crying. I don't mean to say, like, as a bad thing. He's crying from emotion. Like, he misses his family. He misses his freedom. His life has been squandered in prison because of a mistake when he was a young man. I wouldn't even say a mistake. I would say a mistake in the justice system that should never have sent him to prison, like that. And I'm scrolling past a lot of people that have been released, thank God. Gary Northington has been in prison since 1987. What is that? Oh my God, 13 plus 25? That's 38 years. 38 years. He exposed a child sex ring, and they he didn't. There's no victim in his crime. They said he was conspiring to hurt a judge, but that's not true. There's no victim. Nobody got hurt. But he wrote a book that exposed a child sex ring, very similar to what Officer Jack McLam did. He was exposing evil people. See the last one? Let's see. Yeah, that's the last one on the front page. There's two other guys that I've recently been cut off with, and a friend of mine has told me I can install an app on my phone to reestablish communication, and I don't know if that's true, but I might do it or I might not do it. And that would be Thomas Lane, who's on Alabama death row, and Dennis Morgan Hicks on Alabama death row. I believe there's reasonable doubt on both of those men. I've talked to both of them many times, and I just think that our justice system makes mistakes a lot, and there's incentives to find someone who's guilty even if they're not guilty, because people get rewarded, for finding it's very similar to the Charlie Kirk assassination. The FBI wants to find the culprit ASAP. They even brag about how fast they solved the case. It's not about how fast you solved the case. It's about, did you solve it properly? Did you find the right guy? Did you follow up on all the leads? Are you sure that you have, the only person responsible, or even the person responsible? And a lot of times they don't, because men's criminal justice systems are broken, but God's criminal justice systems are not broken. We look forward to the day that divine justice will come down. And then also I've read probably 3 different books, watched 4 or 5 different documentaries on the case of Darlie Routier. This is a very controversial one. A lot of people don't agree with me here, and that's fine, but I believe there's reasonable doubt in her case. I believe that her husband, he signed an affidavit that said he was trying to set up a robbery in the house or something to that effect, and I think it went wrong. I don't think she had much knowledge. I don't think she intended those babies to be hurt or murdered, and there's a bloody sock like 75 yards down the alley. And there's a lot of discrepancies. If you look at the bruises on her arm and across her body, I have a hard time believing she did that to herself. There's just a lot of discrepancies. And that was at the time where another woman had did something horrific things to her child. And then they used these silly string evidence. It's called demeanor evidence. People grieve differently. Well, she had been there grieving for several hours. I think it was her sister that brought the silly string. And then they played this few second clip of her spraying silly string like somehow she's happy they're dead. But that's you don't convict somebody of double homicide of your own children because of demeanor evidence. It's like, well, no mother would act like that. Well, you weren't there the whole day, right? Maybe she'd been crying for 2 hours straight, and that was the way for her to finally release whatever grief she had been having. So I don't convict people of crimes because of demeanor evidence on how they grieve. But anyway, Revelation 6:10 is a good verse to wrap this up, and I've gone nearly 25 minutes. Revelation 6:10 says, "And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth?" Over the last 5 years, like I said, my wife and I have just become a little bit smarter. Many experiences with betrayal of so-called friends, how the world can not be as it appears. We're all looking at the world through a hole in a fence, and some of us have different perspectives, but it's the same world, but we don't see the bigger picture yet. But I'll tell you that vanity, pride, lifting up yourself, it's in a lot of hearts of a lot of people. And when you recognize pride in someone or vanity, it's best to stay away from those type of people, because you invite them into your life, and you're inviting destruction, right? So you got to make good decisions as you go throughout your life. Ask to be led by the Holy Spirit. And I'll say this, that the King James Bible is still the perfect Word of God. I've never changed my position on that. I believe that the King James Bible is absolutely perfect. If you produced the scrolls that Moses wrote on, Paul wrote on, and you said these are the original scrolls that they wrote on as they were directed by the Holy Spirit, I'd say I don't need them. You know what? I've got a perfectly preserved book in today's world. I can hold it in my hand, I can read it, I can believe it, and I can apply it to my life. It exists. The scrolls you're talking about, God saw fit that they would pass away. Now, we have copies of copies of copies. I understand that. But I have a book that exists. Not only does it exist, but it has page numbers, it has punctuation, it has chapters. It's written in the language that I can understand, and I believe God perfectly preserved that King James Bible. And I don't have a dull butter knife. When I read the Word of God, I have a sharp sword. You know what I mean? And I have met a few people that understand that God did preserve perfectly His Word in the King James Bible. But so many times you hear preachers nowadays say that a better translation would be, or that word, it's just in the Greek and the Hebrew, it doesn't mean this, it means that. And I know I'm going off on several tangents here, but Peter Ruckman ran a radio show for decades. And he said, if you can show, and he knew Greek and Hebrew, he was a scholar, right? He wrote dozens and dozens of books. And he said, if you can show me anything biblically that exists in the Greek and Hebrew that does not exist in the English language, he would announce it. He said it never happened. He said every single thing that is in the Greek and the Hebrew is in the English. You don't have to always go back to the Greek and the Hebrew to make your point. But see, that's what people do because they don't believe they have a perfect Bible. They always try to go back to the Greek and Hebrew to make their point because they don't like the words in the King James Bible. But I believe that the words in the King James Bible are perfectly preserved. And the difference is when you stand before God, for you people who don't believe the King James Bible, and our Father, right, the Father of my godly Father and your godly Father, He says, go get my book. I'm going to go get him a King James Bible and say, here you go, sir. You're going to go get some other book, right? And I'm going to be saying, thank you, my Lord, for saving a book that's perfectly preserved, that didn't have any errors in it. And you're going to be saying, thanks for saving a book that had just a few errors and showing me where all the problems are, because it wasn't perfectly preserved. It had a lot of errors in there, and but you did pretty good, Lord. You did pretty good. I'm going to say thank you, Lord, for being perfect and perfectly preserving that book. It's important that you have a sharp sword and not a dull butter knife. But this is my first video after 5 years of being banned from YouTube. We'll see how long this lasts. I don't know how often I'll make videos. I'm a very, very busy guy, especially in daytime hours.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
She's singing Welcome Back, Cotter in the background. And we're like reliving our youth here, back when we used to make videos together. But we don't have a desk anymore. My wife didn't want me to say this, but I've kind of turned into a functioning hoarder, but I'm working on it, Anyway. All right. October 18th, 2025. LoneStar1776 is back for the time being. We'll see how long it lasts. Please go to our website, IHateTheFBI.com. Check out Amy, Yori Von Call, Scott Fall, Ed Brown, Anthony Troy Williams, any others as well. Their addresses are there. Write them a letter. Let them know you care about them. Let them know you love them. The Bible says to pray for our brothers and sisters in prison. Remember those in bonds as if you were in prison yourself. Anything you want to say, Aaron?
Todd Hootu.
Oh, what about Todd Hootu? Oh, yeah, Roberta Hendricks' boyfriend. Todd Hootu. He's on the list of other prisoners, I believe. And if you find any errors on the webpage, I should say, let me know, and I'll try to get it fixed. I hadn't been doing a good a job as I could. I've got other things in my life, but I'll try to keep that website updated with the proper addresses. God bless you, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye.